Welcome. In this session, we will discuss the recent articles which have been talked about in Down to Earth. Now, the first one is the Stockholm Convention, where the idea was increasing number of countries being focusing on the chemicals that are either banned or slated. Now, one of the most discussed one among this was UV 328, and this is actually one which is used in industrial, chemical, aerospace and defense, and the permission has been granted for this. Despite the fact that it is highly toxic, it can disrupt the hormonal functions. This has been used only in 5 sectors. Specific exemptions were for motor transport, instrumentation, industrial machinery, medical and photography. The idea is this UV 328 actually is found in the paints and plastics, acts as a UV absorber to protect the material from any kind of discoloration or degradation which can be caused due to sunlight. Now, the credibility has been affected. The treaty, which was established in 2004, talks about safeguarding human health from the POPs, which is the persistent organic pollutants, and UV 328 is one of the POP. Now, the item has been taken off the exemptions and has been allowed. This can remain into atmosphere for extended period. It can travel to long distances. It can accumulate in fatty tissues and create toxicity. So those are some of the real impacts that we have seen. Now, under the Stockholm Conventions, there were 3 annexes. Annexes 1 talked about the chemical slated for elimination, B talked about restricted production and use, and C talked about unintentional production and the release of that to be minimized. Implementation of ban started in Ethiopia, where there were new exemptions being proposed for UV 328, and these have been affecting the region with similar concerns. Now, if we talk about the 3 new harmful chemicals, which are chloropyrifos, LCPFCA and MCCP, were added to Annex A for elimination. Countries like India have asked about more exemptions, citing for food security concerns. 2 of these were only banned after they were found to have adjustments reducing the impact. Now, the global bans are not automatically binding to India and other 20 countries, as they require separate ratification. India talked about reinforcing the bans on just 7 of the 33 listed chemicals, which was there in 2021. The next is the wildlife conflict and the human conflict. Now, in 2004, the Tarai area has been developed as a new ecotourism zone in the Chandani forest area. Now, the people from the Jim Corbett area have talked about the proposition of additional ecotourism zone, focusing the fact that there are increasing attacks of tiger, and this has become a major concern. In 2025, a man in Uttarakhand was killed by tiger, which was the first such attack in 50 years. And between the last 1 year in the Ramnagar forest areas, 12 tiger attacks have been found, where the animal behavior has been changing rapidly. The Ramnagar hosts 5 ecotourism zones within the Jim Corbett, along with the nearby divisions, and this is one of the major source of livelihood in the area. Now, this new tourism zone has come up with a lot of opposition from the nearby villages, which were not consulted. Also, local people have filed a PIL, leading to the pause on the proposal and clearing the area. Now, the zones that have been demarcated would be nearly 10 square kilometers with less than 1% for safari routes and limited vehicle use. The idea is to minimize the wildlife disturbance in that area. Now, if the wildlife disturbance is being accounted, those tigers are affecting the humans, and this has led to growing human-wildlife conflict. Now, if we talk about the 2022 census by the Tiger Conservation Authority of India, it says that Ramnagar, which has nearly 67 tigers, the number is now close to 80, which is a nearly nearly 20 tigers per 100 square kilometer, higher than the average of 8 tigers per square kilometer, which is found in other parts of India. Now, also the private properties in the region along with the resorts have caused a loss of connectivity between Jim Corbett and Ramnagar, leading to significant impact. In addition to the tigers, there are other species like nilgai, sambar, elephants, monkeys, which have been venturing into the area, affecting nearly 40% of the standing crops, and this has led to disorientation and stray animals increasing in the areas. So, higher population density is again one of the major factors which has affected it. Now, India as a country is experiencing a pollinator crisis. That means farmers are now renting honeybees to ensure that crop pollination takes place, because the natural pollination has declined significantly. Specifically, if we talk about Himalayan region, Himachal Pradesh, apple growers have been relying on rented beehives to pollinate their orchids, and wild bees and butterflies are being introduced, which are getting scarce in the time being. So pollination is, as we know, a vital key for survival of the ecosystem and species. There are nearly 20,000 species of wild bees, butterflies, moths, wasps, beetles, which are being involved in the pollination. FAO has talked about 1/3 of the food crop depends on pollinators. If these pollination is not natural, then there has to be artificial pollination that has to be seen, and therefore rented beehives are being introduced in the pollinating areas. So crops like coffee, cocoa, almonds contribute to GDP in many developed countries, and these three crops significantly rely on bee pollination. So what is important is pollination not only supports the crop but also helps in biofuels, fiber, medicine, livestock and other materials. So the major concern here is that pollinator species have witnessed a significant decline in natural area. Nearly 3 to 4% of them have become extinct. There are numerous species of vertebrate pollinators which are at risk, nearly 16%, and this figure is nearly 30% for island species, which is further higher. Honeybees have suffered the hive losses up to 90% in certain parts in US due to colony collapse disaster that has been witnessed in honeybees, and this has been affecting agriculture in United States significantly, creating a significant food security threat within the regions of United States. There has been a consultations agency which has been working on the decline of the pollinator species in Goa. Now you might wonder why in Goa, because the Salim Ali Institute of Ornithology is one of the key centers which is established in Goa, one of the major persons who did researches on birds and other avian species. Now one of the studies and researchers from Calcutta University and University of East Anglia found that in Odisha there has been a major crop yield decrease which has been reported in last 10 to 25 years. 4 out of the 5 bee species have declined by 90%, except for Apis dorsata, which has increased significantly in the farm areas. Even in the regions of Bangalore, chemical fertilizers have affected the honeybees. The giant honeybee of India is endangered. There is a significant decline of other species. Some similar species, for example mustard and lychee, nectar rich crops which are considered, require camping of honeybees, and for that renting of honey hives, beehives is being done. The rented beehives actually cost nearly 1200 per box. During a flowering season of 15 to 20 days this is being required, and then there are nearly 250 such boxes which is required, and ultimately these rental beehive cost or increases the cost significantly, creating a burden onto the producer. There have been examples from coffee plantation in regions of Kodagu in Karnataka. Arabica coffee can self-pollinate. Cross-pollination improves the yield, but manual pollination would lead to a slow increase in the yield, and therefore manual pollination is limited only to vanilla orchids, which is outside the native range. Similarly, the peri-urban areas of Bangalore, Mysuru, manual pollination is common. In Uttar Kannada, mango growers are again facing the pollination issue. Similarly, is the Shankapura jasmine flower, which is a GI tag, is being exported abroad, has very few natural pollinators, and it is being affected by a local thermal power plant. So these are some of the cases that we have witnessed. As you can see, the crop which is not affected by absence of pollinators includes wheat, maize, rice, tubers, pulses, fruits like banana, pineapple, grape, and then sugarcane, sugar beet. However, those which have a significant impact are apples, apricots, blueberries, nuts, almonds, cashews, avocado. But for the species for which it is essential include kiwi, vanilla, coca beans, Brazilian nut. For this, pollinators are essential. So this list is really important, can be an important part of your prelims paper next year. Now, India has highest number of domesticated bee colonies in the world. If we talk about 1961, sorry, it was Soviet Union leading, followed by US and India. As of the present scenario, 2023, 2013 and 17, India leads, followed by China and Turkey in the global honeybee managed colonies. And then there are swarms across the states, and this is a picture to highlight that. But this has been warning sign. Replacing natural pollinators with artificial methods such as hand pollination would require challenges, make it expensive, require high quality labor equipments and skilled workers for the same. And again, the output and the yield, we are not very sure how it would be. So there has been the Indian Institute of Horticulture Research, which is investigating bee community transfer approach, which has been very successful for almond growers in California. And we are talking about the same process for other crops under the Gandhi Krishi Vigyan Kendra in India. Now, there has been aerial endocephalan sprays in early 2000, which has eliminated numerous local bee colonies, and this has been significant in the regions of Kerala and Karnataka. There have been organizations working for companion planting, pollinator garden, reducing the use of pesticide and beekeeping. So there are domestication and rearing of bumblebees which is going. Because of the large size and hairy body, bumblebees are more effective in transferring the pollen as compared to other species. They are less aggressive. They can pollinate through vibration, which helps them to go through the tunnels and the enclosed space. And even in the greenhouse environment, bumblebees actually perform well. So the next one is seed banks. Now, seed banks are being run by community as well as non-farm, non-profit organizations which are storing indigenous climate resilient crop varieties. Farmers are struggling to get good quality seeds and are relying on landlords. So to address this, Sangam Seed Bank in 1995 was established with Deccan Development Society. Now it serves the nearby 75 villages. The seeds are shared with farmers who in return double after the harvest. So they provide the double number of seeds, and the buyers are actually benefiting from this model. So Delhi-based Center for Science and Environment conducted surveys talking about the community seed bank, their implications, and we have seen the farmer seeds specifically from species like tomato, brinjal, pearl millet, wheat, papaya, guava, tur dal, pigeon peas are performing well. Then the seed sharing method again depends on the local conditions and the harvest system. So there is a seed loan system where farmer borrows the seed at the start of the season and at the end would give double number of seeds if the things go on. But there are challenges. Financial sustainability becomes one of the major challenges, and then lack of expertise in the technology section is affecting that. Although the Protection of Plant Species and Farmers' Right was adopted in 2001 to recognize the plant species, the breeding, allowing farmers to save, exchange and sell seeds, this has been important because they are still being commercially affected. Then there are hundreds of climate resilient crop varieties which are important. The number of community seed banks, seed managed banks by non-profit individuals and climate resilient seeds. Now here we can see a list of drought resistant varieties that are there. there, the wind resistant varieties and disease resistant varieties. Now based on this, the crops that are being grown are chosen based on the region and what best they could work. Similarly, there are salinity resistant crops, heat resistant crops, flood resistant crops which are being identified. The next is the Madhu Soling, which is a weed that grows everywhere. The leaves are excellent, adding to a sour flavor. Now this is considered as a weed known as Chinese knotweed in Assam. Its leaves have a sour taste. It is used usually in salad, but it is also used in dals, curries and other preparations. The leaves can be kept for 4 to 5 days because it has sour tasting berries. These leaves are available only in the monsoon season. They are recommended as a souring agent because they are anti-inflammatory and good for gut health. Also, it is used with tomatoes, raw mangoes and preparation of various dishes. The plant from China with leaves like that of a peach is often regarded as invasive. However, this has been observed to overgrow the tea bushes and block the drainage in the tea plantation. So there has been spotted areas. For example, the Khas Plateau Reserve area in Maharashtra is renowned for Neel Kurunji flowers which blossom only once every 12 years. Now this is one of the interesting parameters that have been taken into account, and due to the invasive species of the Madhu Soling, it has become a very rapidly growing plant, making it a valuable plant in the world which is facing climate change. The Global Compendium by Randall talks about the spread through the seeds and the stems and how it can tolerate the environmental conditions. Also, it has healing abilities for scurvy, for wound healing. In Karnataka, it is used for seasonal illnesses, for indigestion, flu and cold. The leaf extract is used for eczema and eye conditions. Poultice made from the leaf is used on the abdomen to relieve the acute stomach pain, and also the dried leaves are used for boils and dysentery. So there are various anti-inflammatory roles. Along with that, the juice of the fresh leaves is used as a cure for a snake bite. So this has an enzyme called as SYK and SREC kinase, which usually activate the NF-κB signaling pathway, which is responsible for inflammation and immune responses in human beings. The next is the ICAR has created a genome edited rice sequence for the patented CRISPR technology. Now this has been done with the help of ICAR and this would be India's first genome edited rice variety, which would be grown in the month of early May. It would be drought resistant, quick to mature, water efficient and would require less nitrogen, so would address the issues of climate change. Now this is a remarkable development. Now 2G varieties DRR Dhan 100 Kamla and Pusa DST Rice 1 are the enhanced versions which have already successful strains. They have been developed with the ICAR and IARI in Pusa using the CRISPR-Cas technique. So Cas9 has been one of the major techniques which has been edited. Now the foreign DNA, the rice variety without foreign DNA, making them exempt from the strict biosafety rules, have been developed, and the government, after exempting SND 1 and 2 gene editing techniques from GM regulation, allotted nearly 500 crores for GE research in India. Now the next is, for the first time in 50 years, India has seen a decline in the life expectancy at birth. So children born between 2017 and 21 were projected to live at an average of 70 years, 69.8 years, which is slightly lower than the 70 years average for those born between 2016 to 2020. Now this decline could be with the peak period of COVID-19 that could be considered. And then the next is the newly introduced development metrics which evaluates the world according to the living standards. In 2023, Apple said that the latest Apple Watch were carbon neutral, but then there were lawsuits talking about carbon offset projects which lack additionality, meaning they protect forest already preserved but do not provide new environmental benefits. So the company would confess being less sustainable rather than being truly sustainable, and this problem was found with the developmental matrices of United Nations HDI PHDI, which compares countries on relatively rather than an absolute planetary limits. So Denmark, Norway among the top nations, and then the new metrics talks about the environmental pressure adjusted HDI, which evaluates the country based on whether their living conditions can be scaled globally without harming the planet. The next topic that we would discuss is the broken lifeline. For 50 years, Indians have enjoyed a extended, healthier lifespan, but during the pandemic, we have witnessed a significant change which has been seen, and the average life expectancy at birth has increased from nearly 50 years in 1970 to 70 years in 2013, which was an increase of nearly 19.3 years. But then again, we have a decline that we have witnessed, and this decline, as we said, has been or could be attributed not only to pandemic, but again due to the declining healthcare services during this period. The researchers at IIPS have talked about that India has lost nearly 1.6 years of life expectancy in 2021 alone because of the highest mortalities which have been linked to COVID-19. Also, the life expectancy was more significantly reduced among males, resulting in increasing gender gap of nearly 2.8 years to 3.2 years in 2021, as per some of the studies which have been cited. Some other important highlights include the biodiversity funds from global environmental facilities affecting the countries like Kenya, Philippines, Malawi, Vanuatu, Antigua as some of the nations. Then the UN National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, that is NOAA, from which numerous questions, as we said, were asked this time, would discontinue its $1 billion weather and climate disaster database, which monitors the economic toll of severe weather events across the countries. Also, the glacial monitoring Switzerland talks about the Swiss glaciers are heading into summer with 13% less snow cover as compared to the last 10 years of average. China-led EV vehicle export in 2024 has been again addressed, where rare earth minerals have come into light, and now India is talking about the critical mineral mission that we need to focus on. So those are some of the important issues that have been discussed. The other tidbits would be available in the handouts on examrace.com in the current affairs section, so refer them. Thanks for joining in. Have a great day. And of course, Yojana, Kurukshetra and Down to Earth are covered every month on the channel. Down to Earth comes every fortnightly, so covered twice a month. So thanks for joining in. Stay subscribed. Thank you.